Jer, we're not gonna pay another family to rent our house.
Every now and then, we just need to be like, Conrad, you know what I mean?
For years now, a social media war has been raging. Team Conrad versus Team Jeremiah. It's the soul of the summer turned pretty. We've all picked our sides, passionately defending our chosen Fisher brother. But what if for 2 seasons we've been fighting a futile war? The fandom has been fighting between 2 brothers, when the reality is there's more to it than just a love triangle. Season 3, episode 3 shows us that there's a real villain in this story, and no, it's not Belly, to my chagrin.
Why couldn't you let me have this one thing?
It's the father to the Fisher brothers, Adam, who created Jeremiah's cracked foundation long before a love triangle ever could. Understanding that toxic dynamic doesn't just reframe Jeremiah's story, it reveals the tragedy at the heart of it. The golden retriever was set up to become his own worst enemy from day one. So this is a bit of a character analysis video, and to really understand Jeremiah, you have to understand his father, Adam Fisher. On the surface, Adam is a successful provider, but underneath he's a destructive force in his sons' lives, especially Jeremiah's. Adam Fisher is the architect of Jeremiah's deepest insecurities. While his neglect impacts both boys, the way it hits Jeremiah is through a crushing combination of indifference and constant unfavorable comparisons to his brother, Conrad, who was burdened with Adam's expectations, sure, but Jeremiah was practically erased by Adam's emotional neglect. Think back to season 1, when Adam shows up at the summer house. He's barely through the door before he grills Conrad about his future, focusing everything on him. Meanwhile, with Jeremiah, he only gets a sliver of that attention, which is sad because throughout the episode we see Jeremiah eagerly wanting to bond with his father, but his dad doesn't reciprocate.
I haven't always been the best daddy.
When Jared proudly mentions he made the varsity football team, a sport his dad loves, Adam's response, a throwaway comment before his focus snaps right back on his golden child. It's in these tiny moments that the real damage is done. Jeremiah performs, he tries, he puts himself out there, only to be met with a shrug or belittled. I wonder if Jeremiah's sexuality comes into play with how his father treats him, because Adam gives me conservative alpha male Wall Street vibes, and I don't think he might approve of Jeremiah's rainbow identity. This kind of dynamic made Jeremiah's father wound.
I thought you'd been an awesome daddy.
He developed a sense of not being good enough, and it stems from the lack of his father's approval. For Jeremiah, this wound would fester and morph into a crippling inferiority complex. He's been conditioned his entire life to believe he's fundamentally less valuable, less smart, and less worthy than his brother, Conrad. This is why he's constantly looking for approval, not just from his father, but from everyone. His charming, people-pleasing personality isn't just a quirk, it's a survival strategy. When you don't feel like you're inherently worthy of love, you learn to perform it. You become the fun one, the easygoing one, the hoe that hooks up with everyone, the guy who makes everyone happy, all in a desperate attempt to earn the validation his brother gets inherently. He puts on a show of confidence because the only emotions he's been allowed to have are the happy ones that make other people comfortable. TV Fanatic had a wonderful write-up going into more depth with Jeremiah, speaking about how Adam negatively impacted the boys after losing their mom. Jeremiah's emotional invisibility results in him facing the brunt and managing his father's constant indifference and degradation, his brother's repressed pain, and his mother's happiness, but often at the expense of his own emotions. Ironically, Adam fosters an environment where Jeremiah simultaneously holds the responsibility of managing and navigating everyone's emotions while also being dismissed as irresponsible and immature. It was particularly glaring when Susanna fell ill. We learned that Jeremiah did the bulk of taking care of her in the household, only for Adam to cut Jeremiah down during legal matters about the house and other decisions post Susanna's death. Despite seeing that there's more depth to Jeremiah, when it comes to serious matters, Adam reaffirms that his son is unserious.
You never let anyone see you hurting.
I'm fine, Mom, seriously.
Yeah, well, sometimes I think you're a little too good at being fine.
Isn't that what everyone wants me to be?
No. Not me.
And it's probably because of all this that Jeremiah has a great read on people. He can peep anyone's motives a mile away, and he can persuade people just as easily. When used for evil, it can be seen as manipulative, but when used for good, it makes for a great leader, or a politician, maybe? And shout out to Teen Angst. I was watching their review on the Summer I Turned Pretty for the first 2 episodes of the season 3, the host commented that Jeremiah stepping up for his mother while she was ill wasn't a good example of maturity and responsibility because he had no choice. He was forced into that role. But I think no matter how he fell into it, that doesn't negate how that experience shaped him and how well he did in that role. He had no choice but to learn major life lessons and to mature. Adam's blatant favoritism doesn't just mess with Jeremiah's head, it actively poisons the bond between the brothers. It turns a normal sibling rivalry into a destructive, cyclical, unwinnable contest.
Thanks, Daddy.
A contest both boys are participating in. And that's why his jealousy over Conrad is so intense and sometimes toxic. It's not just about Belly, it's about everything. It's about a lifetime of feeling like the runner-up in his own family. So many of Jeremiah's choices can be seen as a direct result of this. He joins the football team not just because he wants to, but because he's chasing Conrad's coattails, hoping to get even a little of what he has, some praise, something. Plus, he keeps speaking down on himself. All of season 1, he was saying he's not as good as Connie. He's living in Conrad's shadow because his father convinced him that that's the only place he belongs. But his father isn't the only one who does this. Everyone picks Conrad over Jeremiah. Steven, who was supposedly his bestie, jumped ship for Team Conrad last season, rarely spending time alone with Jeremiah and underestimating him.
You switched up on me?
Thinking he wasn't capable of a real relationship. Belly did the same, only focusing on Conrad's needs after Susanna's death. I don't even know where Laurel went. Adam was MIA, and then cut to season 2, Jared's only confidant was Old Girl, and she was in a load of trouble. No one takes him seriously. The only person on his team was Taylor, and she rarely said his name right. This dynamic is what makes the love triangle with Belly a million times more painful to watch. He's not just scared of losing the girl he loves, he's terrified of confirming his deepest fear, that he will always be second choice. Being with Belly just puts a magnifying glass on his insecurities he's already had about playing second fiddle to Conrad. His jealousy isn't proof that he doesn't love Belly, it's a symptom of the deep-seated belief that he can never really win her completely, that a part of her will always belong to his brother, who has always been the winner. He's doing the whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing, and it doesn't help that the show keeps hammering endgame edits between Belly and Conrad. We see Jeremiah's insecurity play out in agonizing detail. He constantly brings up Conrad's potential to hurt Belly, not just as a warning, but as a way to elevate his own position, to put his brother down, to make him a little taller. It's a messed up coping mechanism, born from a lifetime of being put down himself. Conrad, for all his issues, really talks about Jeremiah that way to Belly. He doesn't have to. He's always been the default winner in the family, although he does his fair share of putting down Jeremiah as well, but mostly to his face.
Every now and then, we just need to be like, Conrad, you know what I mean?
Jeremiah, on the other hand, has always been playing from behind. The game is rigged from the start, and the tragedy is, Jer keeps playing into it. It's sad how even Jer Bear never gives himself a chance to grow out of his insecurities. Season 2, it felt like he was heading down the right direction. With denying Belly's advances, I thought he'd have a chance to break free of the toxicity holding him down. But nope, as soon as Belly made her definitive choice, he came running back to the bull. Also, it makes things worse that the show never conveys that Belly truly loves Jeremiah. At best, we've seen some lustful chemistry, but nothing romantically substantial. Last season did a poor job setting up their partnership. When the season 3 cheating arc made the rounds on social media, I was low-key here for it. I wanted Jeremiah to hurt Belly. She deserved it with all her antics, but I secretly wanted Belly to have a romantic rival, like have someone who sees Jeremiah's real value and gives Belly a run for her money. That'd be some good drama. And to make it even juicier, it could have been like a male love interest that could double as a device for Jeremiah to better understand his fluidity, because for some reason his queerness has been abandoned. To take it even further, how dramatic would it be if Belly's ex Cam Cameron hooked up with Jeremiah? I know it sounds crazy, but the boys had great chemistry in season 1 and some great group bonding moments in season 2, with Cam sharing the story about his sister's death. Plus, I think Cam would be fluid as well since he dated Sky last season. It opens the door to a nice queer love story.
Don't worry, she won't find out about us, Sean. She won't find out. Don't tell them. No. Don't tell them, Sean. Nobody will ever. It's just us forever, Sean. Take me away. Take me away. Take me away. We'll go to the
That mess would be chef's kiss. So what happens when you raise a kid in this kind of pressure cooker? When you starve him of a father's validation and pit him against his own brother? You get the Jeremiah Fisher we see in our screens, a charming, magnetic, and deeply insecure young man who is emotionally unprepared for real life. His entire identity is built on a fragile foundation, and when things get real, the cracks start to show. This is how the family toxicity turns Jeremiah into his own worst enemy, the most defining trait, that sunny golden retriever energy, is the most obvious result. It is, as we've said, a defense mechanism, but it comes at a cost. By constantly performing happiness for others, especially for his mom, Susanna, during her illness, he never learns how to deal with his own pain. He just doesn't have the tools. Since Jeremiah has always been conditioned to believe, his only value is being upbeat. He shoves his sadness down, adorns his smile, and is left emotionally stunted and prone to blowing up when the feelings eventually inevitably boil over. He only shares his palatable feelings. It's hard to share his darker attitudes. We see this over and over again, with the random Jeremiah Belly fight from season 3 being the best example. Jeremiah picks a fight with Belly out of nowhere when it's obvious that there's something going on. He dips only to go cheat. Now, him cheating in this way makes no sense.
What? Ain't no way. Who wrote these? It's wrong. It's wrong.
Thank you, writers. Jeremiah is very calculating, so him impulsively cheating makes no sense to me, and the fact that there's no clear motivation behind his decision really shows how bad the writing can be in this series. I've heard theories that Jeremiah secretly wanted to enjoy being single, picking up his hoe activities he had from season 1, but I don't really buy into that because, in my opinion, he's only been a hoe for attention, and he already has attention. So, what? Perhaps something happened prior to the fight that made him feel insecure about his relationship, so he stepped out on Belly, who knows. However, that self-sabotaging angle makes more sense to me. Maybe it's both, I don't know. However, I have a sneaky suspicion that maybe Jeremiah cheated because he found out about the Belly and Conrad winter tryst, and the show will somehow reveal it in a flashback. I hate these damn flashbacks, by the way. I wish the show would play things out in real time. Anyways, if he retaliated and that's why he cheated, that feed into his manipulative nature. I can see that being a better reason, you know, him being content with his look back in secret, knowing what Belly did to him. And I also think that there might have been some tension between Jeremiah and Belly. That scene where Belly reiterates to him that she'd only been with one other person, and Jeremiah just kind of annoyingly and coldly responds, "Yeah, Conrad, I know," spoke volumes.
Guilty as charged.
His calculating nature would also explain his impulsive proposal to Belly. It's not some grand romantic gesture. In my opinion, it was a desperate panic move to lock her down after she found out that he was with someone else while they were on a break. It's a panic attempt to secure the one person who made him feel chosen, to lock down the relationship before his own insecurities and mistakes can tear it all apart. It's giving the end scene from The Best Man. If you know, you know. And not for nothing, Season 3, Episode 4 really made me believe in this theory, because when Jeremiah sits down with Laurel to explain to her why he wanted to marry Belly, he basically just tells her after his mother passed away, he didn't think that there would be anyone in the world for him. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's such a low way to think of yourself. But then again, he's still in mourning, technically, and this is his first real relationship. And he basically points to Belly, he's like, that's my person. Like, she saved me or something like that. And I was like, ooh, his headspace? He does not have the healthiest self-esteem. Help my brother out, please, Lord, help him out. Maybe that's why he keeps participating in this love triangle. It's a consequence of his inferiority complex. The love triangle is the familiar, comfortable dynamic. He's reenacting his family trauma because it's the only script he knows. The loss of his mother is the final devastating blow.
Why me?
She was the only person who truly saw him and valued him for who he was, not as Conrad's brother. Her death rips away his only source of unconditional support, his only real emotional anchor. Without her, he is completely adrift, left alone with a neglectful father and a brother who has been framed as his rival for his entire life. And plus, it doesn't really seem like Conrad is around. Do you know what I mean? Like, the beginning of season 3, we see him kind of isolated out into his own world in California, in Stanford Medical School. And only when Conrad comes back into the Susanna Memorial did we see him kind of reacclimate himself into their social circle. So part of the reason why I think he clings to Belly with such fierce desperation is because she's the only safe harbor he has left. She's a piece of Savannah. Plus, not for nothing, Belly would understand being the second best in the family, having an overachiever brother like Steven. However, no one in his family treats her lesser than. So in a lot of ways, Belly is catered to, being the only girl in the youngest of both families. But her romance with Jeremiah can't fix him, because the damage is just too deep. It only serves to amplify his insecurities that were hammered into him as a child. Additionally, Jeremiah's relationship mirrors Susanna and Adam's marriage in a way. Susanna was also a golden retriever who was cheated on by her husband while she was in her darkest moment. Yet she still came back to him, never choosing better for herself, sticking to her complicated marriage until she eventually divorced him. But I could see Jeremiah being Adam as well. I don't know if y'all peeped this, but I feel like Adam is insecure with Susanna's friendship with Laurel. They saw themselves as each other's soulmates after all. Adam did not fit that bill. Maybe when Adam decided to cheat, he was dealing with second best syndrome himself, trying to find himself love that made him feel like the first choice. I also find it interesting that both of these people, Jeremiah and Adam, they love to perform, or they perform a lot, I should say. Jeremiah and Adam, they crave attention. This man though, Adam, needs to be seen in a good light. Image is everything to him. For so long, the conversation around The Summer I Turned Pretty has been trapped in a simple binary, Team Conrad or Team Jeremiah. We argue about who's more toxic, who's more mature, who Billy should pick, but when we do that, we miss the forest for the trees. The story shouldn't be about which brother is better. It's about why these characters choose to live the way they do. How a toxic family system, led by an emotionally neglectful father, can wound a person so deeply it warps their entire identity. Jeremiah Fisher isn't a villain per se. Though what he did was wrong, no doubt, he's really a product of his environment. His jealousy, his insecurity, and his tendency to self-sabotage aren't just character flaws, they are scars left by childhood spent begging for validation he was never going to get. He was taught that love is conditional and that his worth is measured against his brothers, and that his place is always permanently second. Adam Fisher created an unwinnable game, and in doing so, turned his own son into his biggest opponent. Jeremiah's real battle isn't with Conrad for Belly's heart, it's with his voice in his head, telling him he'll never be good enough. The love triangle is just the arena where these deep-seated traumas play out. It's the symptom, not the disease. Jeremiah's biggest obstacle will never be Conrad. It's the inferiority complex that is drilled in him from his earliest days. So before we all rush back to our team to get the shipping wars going again, or it's already going, maybe we should look at this story through another lens. Maybe the real question is, why do these boys love the way they do, and why do they want Belly to love them? And why do they even love her? Like, what the heck? I have to say, for me, Jeremiah will always be my favorite character because I see myself so much in him. We have the same struggles, which is weird because in a love triangle, I'd never thought I'd ID with like one of the male love interests. Nevertheless, it is what it is. Anyways, in my opinion, Jeremiah is in the worst situation out of everyone in the story, maybe besides Steven, who just got into an accident. So what do you think? Should we dive in deeper to the family dynamics? Is the family dynamics, are they the true villains of the story? I don't know. Adam Fisher, is he the true villain? Am I letting Jeremiah off the hook too easily? Like, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe.